What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing some minor adjustments on my BC Racing coilovers. I'm also going to do a DIY alignment using the trusty string method, and I'm also going to try out these new toe plates. I've never used them before. Looks pretty straightforward, so can't be too hard. This video is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not a professional or an expert. I'm just out here getting it done and having fun. But before I get into that, I gotta get this mirror glass put back on. It just kind of randomly fell off the other day. I got a new piece, and I'm gonna just glue it back in there, I guess. Sadly, this is not an OEM piece of glass. Those are pretty expensive. And I just found this piece at the junkyard the other day, so it works. This is an electronic parts cleaner. I use it because it won't damage any plastics. This stuff is probably overkill for what I'm trying to do, but I'd rather it not fall off again. Oh, God. I'm gonna just get some of this onto these. These little guys. So before the alignment, I'm gonna adjust the ride height a little bit, just because I do scrape over certain speed bumps and big bumps in the highways and stuff, and I'd rather not. I think about a ½ an inch should be good enough. Wow, that was really loose. Almost, just a hair more. Double check our measurements. Perfect. And now your measurements may not need to be exactly the same from one side to the other due to corner balancing and stuff like that. In order to have the same ride height on each side, the coilovers were adjusted almost 1/4 of an inch differently. So I did maintain that difference with the new measurements also. So currently, in order for the car to drive straight, the wheel is turned slightly to the left like this. The main cause of that is most likely my front toe is probably a little bit off. So I'm going to do my best to get that as perfect as I can. So what I want to do is get the wheel perfectly straight. And that looks about right to me. That's about where I want it. So I'm going to be trying out the toe plate method. I've never used toe plates before, but it seems pretty straightforward. I have one on each side with these pegs resting against the lip of the rim, and then you measure the distance between them to make sure that they're the same, just to make sure that the rear has 0 toe. Alright, so after a lot of back and forth and minor adjustments here and there, I got them about as close as I think I can. They run along each side. That way we can see that it's the same distance from the front to the back. Now I'm noticing there's a lot of variables that could be at play with these things, like how well they were manufactured, how perfectly straight everything actually is, and they scoot around pretty easily on this kind of surface. The tape itself sagging a little bit could make slight differences in your measurements, but I don't know how well you can see it. Let's see here. You'll notice we're pretty close. This side is about 73 and a 16th, maybe even 3/32. This side is about 73 and an 1/8, so maybe a 32nd worth of toe in the rear, but that again is negligible because of the variability using these cheaper plates, but it does still give you a pretty good idea. So I went ahead and did the same to the front, because if nothing else, it's a little bit of peace of mind, and it gets you at least in a decent ballpark, so you're not just destroying your tires. Because anytime you change the ride height, it is going to affect your toe also. So if you raise or lower your coilovers, you definitely want to do an alignment afterwards. And as we know, that can be pretty expensive at a shop, so this is a decent solution to get it drivable. So here in the front, let's see what we're reading. 74 and 5/16, maybe even just a quarter and a 32nd over. On this side, we're showing 74 and a quarter, pretty much dead even. So this would be reading about a 16th toe out in the front, which honestly is pretty much where I want it anyway. But in order to address that drifting to the left, or you know, having the steering wheel off center in order to drive straight, what we're going to do there is put the steering wheel dead center like I already did, and then we're going to use the trusty string method to make sure that the alignment between the back and the front are good. Just like these toe plates are more to make sure the alignment between one side and the other side is the same, or to figure out your toe in or out. The string method helps to make sure that you're aligned from front to back. So you see I have a string tied to 2 jack stands and pulled tight straight right across the center of your wheels. You don't want them touching because you want to be able to measure the distances. So right here, measure from the lip of your rim to the string, and that's showing exactly 1/2 inch. And right here, we're showing about 1/2 and like maybe a 32nd. So that way we sort of split the difference of what the toe plates were showing, and a 32nd of an inch is good enough tolerance for me to get this just eyeballed straight good enough. So now that we know that the string is as straight as we want it to be lined up with the back wheel, we come up and measure the front. And you see here we're about a 32nd over a quarter, and then up in the front we're about exactly the same. So then once you take those measurements into account, you transfer this situation to the other side, and then when it's over here, we'll see if there's more toe out on this side than there is on that side. That would explain why the wheel points to the left in order to go straight. So if the wheel was straight, that would make the car veer slightly to the right because of this tire being towed out slightly more. So let's check this side real quick. All right, and as expected, after measuring this side, I am showing the tiniest bit of toe out when there was none on that side. Though I do want that tiny bit of toe out, I need both sides to be even in order to go straight. We have slightly more toe out on this side than we have on this side, so that is why the car pulls slightly to the right. So I'm going to go in, measure the length of the tie rods, and adjust them accordingly. Okay, so with that at full lock, makes it easier to get up under here so that we can reach our tie rods here. And you can count these threads or measure, whatever you gotta do, whatever's more precise and easier for you. So I'm gonna go from the edge of this retainer nut right here to this sort of like crease line that you can see right here. Looks like I'm almost 1.25 inches, about a 32nd short of 1.25 inches, maybe right on 1.25 inches. All right, now let's try the other side. You can see this side is much dirtier because of my massive oil leak, but that's an issue for another day. Alright, now if the world makes any sense, in order for this side to be slightly towed out, that means this side should be slightly, microscopically shorter than the other side. Now the other side was at 1.25 inches, a hair under maybe. This side is 1.25 inches. Well, this side appears to be exactly the same as the other side, which means that the world does not make sense, which we already knew. So at this point, I would say my main issue is probably just with how bad all the bushings and the entire suspension system is. The stock suspension is all worn out, especially in the rear. So that could explain some issues. So I'm actually going to leave these alone. If you were to adjust them, what you would want to do is break this retaining nut loose, and then you spin the tie rod in or out of the end here by turning it one way or the other. You can look at the threads to see which way threads it in or out to make the rod shorter or longer, and that is how you adjust your toe. Let's see what you can see. So you can see my end lengths are all out of whack here, and a lot of these bushings are shot. Everything's covered in oil again from that terrible oil leak I have. I think this thing's gonna need a complete suspension overhaul, or at least all new bushings everywhere in the rear and up in the front, all across the board. All the bushings are pretty much shot. So stay tuned for that one in the future. Don't forget to subscribe. And these dampers are way too stiff. These BCs are 32 click adjustability with the damping, and these were at 22 out of 32, so that's pretty stiff for a daily. If I was taking it to the track or something like that, that would be perfect, but I'm gonna soften them up just a little bit to make my daily commutes a little more tolerable. That's probably why the mirror fell off. Getting jarred around so much is knocking things loose. So I'm gonna click these down a few notches, probably to somewhere around 10 for now. It was so low before, I had to have them pretty stiff just to not bottom out over bumps and stuff. But since we raised it up a hair, we can soften it up a hair. So that puts them both at 15 clicks, somewhere right in the middle, you know? Now, if you can afford a proper alignment from a reputable shop where they have actual alignment machine, you cannot beat Precision equipment. But if you're like me, a DIYer on a budget, this method will get you down the road without blowing your tires in a week. And with that, here is the fitment I'm currently running. And remember, this is a functional daily setup. So if you're new here or a returning viewer, don't forget to subscribe to see more stuff I do with this, including a lot of the stuff I just mentioned that we're going to be doing eventually. And if you found this video entertaining or helpful in the slightest, leave a like. It helps tremendously. And with that, it's going to be the end for this one. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out, and don't litter.